No, I haven't any side effects the first or the second shot, thank goodness. I don't anticipate one now. We'll see. Is that high enough for you? Okay.
Is the First Lady getting hers as well today, Mr. President?
She's going to get one. Not, I think she's teaching that, but she's going to get one, yes.
Mr. President, what do you say to World Health leaders like the World Health Organization who say wealthy nations should help more countries without vaccinations get vaccinated before they get boosters here in America?
We are helping, we're doing more than every other nation in the world combined. We're going to have well over 1,100,000,000 shots, and we're going to continue going. We're going to do our part. We've also given a great deal of funding to COVAX, which is the vehicle that does this. So we have plenty of opportunities to make sure we get everyone in the world to play our part, the largest part in the world of getting everyone vaccinated.
How many Americans need to be vaccinated first to go back to normal? Like, what is the percentage of total vaccinations that have to be deployed?
Well, I think, look, I think we get the vast majority, like is going on in some industries and some schools, 97, 98%. I think we're awful close. And, but I'm not the scientist. I think, but one thing for certain, a quarter of the country can't go unvaccinated, and us not continue to have a problem.
Any progress on a reconciliation deal today, Mr. President? How close do you think you are?
You know me, I'm a born optimist. I think things are going to go well. I think we're going to get it done. And I have meetings tonight, tomorrow, and for the next little bit.
What is at stake for your agenda and your presidency with what's happening on the Hill this week?
Victory is what's at stake.
Mr. President, how would you define success this week legislatively? How would you define success legislatively by the end of this week?
Well, it may not be by the end of the week. I hope it's by the end of the week. But as long as we're still alive, we got three things to do: the debt ceiling, continuing resolution, and the two pieces of legislation. If we do that, the country's going to be in great shape. Thank
What's
you.
your message to Democrats as you have these calls? What's your message to Democrats, Mr. President?
Okay, the president just got his COVID booster shot, the Pfizer vaccine. Let me bring in CNN senior medical correspondent Elizabeth Cohen and Dr. Megan Ranney, emergency medicine professor and associate dean of public health at Brown University. Dr. Ranney, first, your reaction to the president getting this booster shot on camera. What's the impact?
I'm thrilled by this. Listen, everyone aged 65 plus across this country who got Pfizer as their primary vaccine series should be going out and getting a booster right now. And President Biden showing up and doing it on camera will hopefully help encourage folks to do it themselves.
Elizabeth, his message, go get a vaccine now, whether it's a first dose, which he was really emphasizing, or a booster, if you're in that eligible group. He's saying there's nothing to fear. He's playing up this sense of urgency. Are shots readily available for anyone eligible who wants one?
They are readily available. I mean, there are plenty sitting on shelves for anyone who needs one, whether it's your first, second, or now your third shot. As Dr. Ranney said, this is really important. Americans have not seen their president get a COVID-19 vaccine. Donald Trump was vaccinated, but not on camera. It's important to build confidence. If he's doing it, it's obviously safe. 1 out of 4 Americans has chosen eligible Americans, I should say, has chosen not to get even a first shot. Doing this on camera, it's to help people get boosters, yes, but really it's to encourage people to get that first shot. That's even more important. So let's go back to the boosters for a minute. Let's talk about who is eligible. President Biden talked about it a bit. Here are some more details. If you are more than 6 months out from your second Pfizer shot, you are eligible if you're 65 or older, if you're a frontline worker, a doctor, a teacher, a grocery store clerk, an adult living in high-risk settings such as prisons, or adults with underlying conditions such as obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes. You'll notice, especially looking at that last category, Anna, that is a huge group of people. That's at least half of the United States that is eligible for a booster. Obesity alone is more than 40% of Americans. So a lot of Americans are eligible for boosters. It's important to get them out. But really, in many ways, what today is about getting those 1 out of 4 people who haven't even gotten a first shot to roll up their sleeves.
And so just to put a button on the president here for a moment, I want to bring back CNN's chief White House correspondent, Caitlin Collins, because Caitlin, again, this is such a pivotal time for him. The whole pandemic is really throwing his administration into a bit of a quagmire when it comes to getting the economy back on track. And he ended on his agenda here saying he's an optimist.
Yeah, that he was asked about how this week is going to go because, of course, you've seen Democrats describe this as the week from hell. They've got so much going on, so many deadlines that are facing them. And you saw the president as he was walking out the door there, speaking to reporters as he was getting this third dose of the Pfizer vaccine, saying that there are 3 things that they need to do this week. And one is raising the federal debt limit, of course. That is their borrowing limit that they have, the debt ceiling, I should say. He also talked about funding the government. Of course, we know that funding is slated right now to lapse out midnight on Thursday night. And then he also talked about getting these 2 pieces of legislation passed. One is that $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure plan that Pelosi says they will vote on Thursday. The other, of course, is the much bigger package that is far from finished, but they are hoping to at least get some kind of agreement where they can say, yes, we do have the commitment from all 50 Democratic senators that they will vote for this. That is something that House progressives want to see, and that is something that is staring them down. And so President Biden was saying that he is going to be working on this today, tonight, and the rest of this week, though it's not clear they are going to get all of that accomplished this week. He said he is optimistic about a timeline, but to be clear, there's a lot to get done between right now and then. But it was funny watching him get that as he was getting his coronavirus vaccine, still answering these questions about what this agenda this week is going to look like, Anna.
It's all about multitasking, especially if you are the president. Dr. Rani, back to the booster questions right now. If you got a Moderna or a Johnson & Johnson vaccine initially, should any of those people be getting the Pfizer booster shot?
No, they should not. There's absolutely no data supporting that Moderna or J&J recipients would do well or that there's safety behind getting a Pfizer shot at this point. We know we have data around the corner coming on Moderna boosters, which are likely going to be a lower dose than the original Moderna series. We also have a press release about J&J boosters that was really promising. But the even better news for Moderna and J&J recipients is that there is less evidence that those 2 vaccines have waned in efficacy against the Delta variant than there is for Pfizer. The last thing, though, is that even for that Pfizer vaccine, I just want to re-emphasize the point that President Biden made, which is that if you have received your first 2 shots of that Pfizer vaccine, you are so protected. You are not back in where we were in 2020, even if you don't receive a booster. Age 65 plus, please run out and go get that booster because there is waning immunity for you. But for the rest of us, including for Moderna and J&J recipients, we are in such a better space than we were a year ago.
What if you've had a breakthrough case, but you qualify for a booster shot? Should you go get one now, 6 months post-vaccination, or should you wait another 6 months post-breakthrough infection?
It's a great question, and it's one of those many COVID questions that we don't have a definite answer for. In many ways, that breakthrough infection likely served as your own natural booster. In general, we tell people not to get a shot while they're feeling sick. In theory, if you've made it through a breakthrough, you're a couple of weeks out, you're no longer on isolation. Sure, you could go get a booster. Is it likely to help you? We really don't know.
Elizabeth, over the weekend, there was this other big news that I want to touch on here. Pfizer could be asking for authorization for vaccines for 5 to 11-year-olds in just a matter of days. How will that help stem the surge?
Oh, that will really make a difference. I mean, while children, largely speaking, aren't nearly as affected by COVID-19 as adults are, they certainly are. Well, my husband, when our children were little and in daycare, we lovingly called them our little disease vectors. And we really did mean it lovingly. But children are really great at spreading things. And so it would really be helpful if children could get vaccinated so that there's a lower risk that they would then infect their grandparents, say. So that would be really important. So we're hearing that within days, Pfizer's going to make the formal application. We should say they've been giving FDA data on their clinical trials, on their studies on children for some time now, but the formal application could come in the next few days. If it's anything like it was with adults, Anna, it will take a matter of weeks for the FDA to consider it. For adults, it took about 3 weeks from application to approval. It doesn't mean children will happen at in exactly that time frame, but it gives you a rough idea.
That is helpful. Okay, Elizabeth Cohen, Dr. Rani, and Caitlin Collins, my thanks to all of you.